recording.
Right around the corner.
All right. Hello. Welcome to the Business Audio Book Practice. Take one. All right. Hello and welcome. Thank you all for being here. I'm excited to kick off our first ever Business Audio Book Practice, which has been in the works for some time. Before I introduce myself and welcome those on social media, or I do want to welcome those on social media. So I'm Chad Haley. I'm with Farmers Insurance and Upstage Music, and I've been doing the Business Audio Book Club now for about 2 years, and we recently revamped it. Something fun that I found with this book practice or book study in particular, we do a little bit deeper dive. So it's more than just one meeting of, hey, here's an overview of the book. All right, everybody have a good week or 5 or whatever until we see you again. We actually take a deeper dive and try to apply some of the things that we've learned in the book, and not necessarily apply everything, because not everything works for every person. So we take it bit by bit, and if you can apply something from that book, that's great. We've learned a lot from all the books that we've done. So I'm going to introduce my friend Sean Brady here. Sean is a self-described personal development junkie. And in the time that I've known him, he's listened to at least 100 audiobooks, and we've shared a lot of insightful wisdom over the last couple of years. He is happily divorced, but happier than ever now because he's married to Michelle, his beautiful wife of over 17 years, and they have 4 wonderful children, ages 7 to 14. Professionally, he's got a long resume. In sales, he's worked for various tech companies and sold commercial properties around the country. And it's funny because if you ask him what he does for a living, he can just say yes or no. There's a lot there for him to describe what he does for a living or how he makes an income. It's a really cool story. So he'll tell you a little bit more about that as time goes on.
Ooh, before you go on to the next thing, tell them where we're at.
We are at Farm Table in O'Fallon, Missouri. This is a really cool event space, coffee shop, and event space and art space. So if you're a creative-minded individual, come here. They have art, both visual and music, and photography studio all built into this. If you go back into the warehouse, she's got like 17 couches on a shelf back there that she can switch out depending on the mood of the room.
That's
it's actually really cool. It is a lot of seat space, and you don't have to sit on the shelves to be included. You actually can sit on the floor or in the room. So Sean's a self-directed investor. He's currently helping companies increase profits with some simple practices, a lot of which we've learned here. Mm-hmm. And also avoided back surgery for 5 herniated discs by losing over 20 pounds, avoiding gluten, and still averaging well over 15,000 steps a day, which is what he does while he's listening to audiobooks and broadcasting over Facebook. So a lot of times if you see Sean in a video, half the time he's winded and walking. So please welcome my friend Sean Brady.
Well, thank you. And I usually start out things with hello.
That you do.
As I do on my videos, but thanks everybody for being here. I'm going to start with who has ever heard, I know you have, who has heard of the Oracle of Omaha? Who's heard of billionaire Warren Buffett? All right. He is the Oracle of Omaha. That's where they reside in his little company. And so for those who may or may not have studied him, this book that we're undertaking right now, this is what's cool. Spring, did you know about this?
Yeah, I'm going to be in.
Spring's going to be in it? Oh, all good. Keep going. So we're recording live. We do this uncut, unedited, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun doing it. But we're just giving an overall synopsis on the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, why did I share Warren Buffett? Warren Buffett picked up this book when he was 15 years old off his grandfather's bookshelf, and it changed his life. He wanted more confidence in high school, doing fun stuff, just like talking to people, girls, everything. But as he got further in his career, he used this book and basically this course to communicate with people more effectively, and he attributes this book and practice to his wealth and success. So his billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars that he gives away can be attributed to this book and this course and this practice. So that's what we wanted to talk about today, is that it's not just a book club, it's a book practice. Because as Chad mentioned, we are definitely taking these things and putting them into play in our lives and for our own benefit. So I'm just going over what we're going to be doing throughout the practice over the next couple of months. And I shared about that. But one thing I wanted to talk about practice is we think of practice in a couple of different ways. But if you think of professionally, doctors and lawyers, they don't have a doctor business, they don't have a lawyer business, they have a practice, right? So who knows the definition of practice? And what this is where it gets interactive. And you can actually pull out your phone. Go ahead and pull out your phones. And then we're actually going to look up the definition of what practice is. So right? It's something to do, right? But if that takes too long, I also pulled it up and put it on the screen behind us. I know, so we don't have to do that. But it's off Merriam-Webster's definition of practice. And if we look at practice, Deanna, you want to read it out loud and share your voice? Yeah, it's Merriam, or else whatever's easier to read.
Okay,
It doesn't matter.
Practice is a noun. It's the actual application or use of an idea, belief, or method as opposed to theories relating to it. The principles and practice of teaching. Also means customary, habitual, or expected procedure or way of doing something, such as current nursing practice. But if you use it as a verb, it means to perform an activity or exercise a skill repeatedly or regularly in order to improve or maintain one's proficiency, or to carry out or perform a particular activity, method, or custom habitually or regularly.
Awesome. And then with the Fun Financial Advisor, would they like to say anything on the verb portion of it? On the definition?
On the verb portion of it?
Yeah. Can you read it from that far? Here, I'll give you my phone and then you can read it off here, right? So practice verb, and then if you want, you can even just read the highlight ones. Get your glasses out. Go for it.
So what do you want me to do? Just basically read from it?
Yeah, just read from it. If you want to read the highlighted things, those are the important key points.
So carry out, apply, practice what you preach, to do or perform often, customarily, or habitually. So like practicing politeness, or to be professionally engaged in, like practicing medicine, or also to perform or work at repeatedly so as to become proficient, like practicing the act. Another one is to train by repeated exercises, practice pupils in penmanship. And that's pretty much it there.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. So as we go through this, I wanted to ground us in the definition of practice, right? So one of the things that a lot of people don't do when they pick up the book is how to read the best practices on how to use this book. And Dale Carnegie actually put that in here on and in the beginning. Actually, it's, after some other things, but on page 25 of the copy that I have, and there's multiple different copies out there. I have an older version, so it's the 9 suggestions on how to get the most out of this book. And I'm not going to bore you with reading all those today, but I'm going to pause here because I'll let you guys read that who are out in social media world. And for those here, I thought it'd be helpful if we just all went through it together. What do you think of that?
Sounds great.
Awesome. All right, so let me pause. You will find at the end of this book several blank pages on which you should record your triumphs in the application of these principles. Be specific. Give names, dates, results. Keeping such a record will inspire you to greater efforts. And how fascinating these entries will be when you chance upon them from some evening years from now. This was written in 1930s. Definitely. In order to get the most out of this book, develop a deep, driving desire to master the principles of human relations. Read each chapter twice before going on to the next one. As you read, stop frequently to ask yourself how you can apply each suggestion. Underscore each important idea. Review this book each month. Apply these principles at every opportunity. Use this volume as a working handbook to help you solve your daily problems. give a lively game out of your learning by offering some friend a $1 or $1. It says a dime or $1, but really, every time that he or she catches you violating one of your principles that you read here. Check up each week on the progress that you are making. Ask yourself, what mistakes have you made? What improvement? What lessons have you learned for the future? Keep notes in the back of this book showing how and when you've applied these principles. All right, those are the 9 suggestions how to get the most out of this book. We're recording, so what did you take away from this?
Everybody, it's Deanna Lay, your community connector.
Yes, I can connect.
So the reflection aspect, I think, I also am like a self-help business growth book junkie.
Yes.
And oftentimes I just forge ahead. I don't really, to reread a chapter twice. I know. It's like, wait, this book is going to be work? What the heck? So
It's a practice.
yeah, right. Apply. So I like the fact of taking the book in, reflecting on it, but also like looking at my calendar. That's one thing I don't ever do is look back at my calendar from the week before and think about what went right, what went wrong, what can I implement this week to make sure that I'm offering my best self as well as opportunities for the people I'm meeting with. So interesting.
That's awesome.
Fascinating.
Chad, you got one?
Yeah, actually, excuse me, the first 2 are the biggest ones. Imagine that. They were the first thing that he mentioned in this book.
You did kind of grab us.
Yeah. So what, specifically quoting from the book, what is this magic requirement? Just this, a deep driving desire to learn. A deep driving desire to learn. We can't go through this, as mentioned in the second one, as a bit of entertainment. We have to actually pay attention. And this was written in the 1930s.
Right.
There were not as many distractions as there are today. Today, we're the most distracted that we've ever been in civilization. I don't know if that's true, but it probably is.
Yes, it is.
Judging by my kids and me and everybody else that I've met, we are distracted. A deep driving desire to learn has to be present. You have to pay attention to this if you want to learn anything. It's funny how that works. Read each chapter rapidly at first to get a bird's eye view of it, and you'll probably be tempted to rush on to the next one, but don't. So again, unless you're reading for entertainment, don't rush on to the next chapter. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't prioritize what's next over what's right in front of you that needs to be done. Don't put the urgent in front of the important. It's important to go back and reread what you're reading. Those are great.
Fun fact, financial advisor.
So number 6 actually dovetails off of that. It's the great line in that from Bernard Shaw: "If you teach a man anything, he will never learn." And then literally he basically comes back to it and says, learning is an active process. We learn by doing. And that's true about this. If you're not applying it, if you're not actually immediately looking at this and saying that you want to actually put it into active practice, you're not going to basically learn from it. And what's interesting is it actually kind of goes into a little more detail about habits. And there's a great saying that I love, which is, show me your habits and I will show you your future.
That's so I love that one.
Yeah.
That one hurts.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Show me your habits and I will show you your future. Write it down if you've never written it down before, because that's something that is absolutely true.
It's very true.
Yeah, and he talks about it, not in exactly those words, but it really is what he's talking about as part of how to apply this book.
Oh, so awesome.
Yeah,
even say the other thing, it's like you were talking about distraction.
Oh, yeah.
But you were using the example of what?
Gilligan's Island.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
But the reality is that they didn't have those distractions. All they had was a radio.
That sometimes didn't work.
That sometimes didn't work. The professor had to do something about it. But literally, they had no other distractions. So that's a good example of where this book came from and why it's actually very applicable to people to try and apply. Because if you actually think back to taking away all those distractions, how much more productive would you be? How much more productive would you be?
Absolutely. So great. Thanks, everybody, for that. So the reason why we didn't read all the things on there was because we want you to read it out in the social media world. It's in the spirit of not just listening to it, but actually digesting the content. especially on the 9 best ways to use the book. Read those a couple times through, and you'll be inspired. I know I was, and that's why I intentionally did not record all 9 of the things to get out of the best way to get most out of this book. But those are the things that we're going to be doing over the next few months, is really deep diving into this book, pulling out all these things that we know we should be doing, we know we could be doing, right? And you had a thought there, right?
No, I'm reading ahead.
You're reading ahead. So, well, we don't even have to read ahead anymore, but I will share up there the questions that I wrote down and the definition of practice, and then I'll also share a little aside on the 12 lessons from How to Win Friends and Influence People, an article that was written in online, so that I found it was really great. But wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, we would love for you to participate in this book study in person. Come join us. Come join ICAG Connect.
Together is amazing.
Together is amazing.
Well, and you'll end up actually finding that there's certain things that are actually in this book that are very relative to things like ICAG and just being genuine with other people. Because that's one of the things that are in there. Having genuine interest in others is huge. And if you're applying what they're talking about, it's going to basically just naturally come about.
Yeah.
It really will.
It's so awesome. Anything else to add?
He came out and just went.
It's okay. Chad, anything for you?
So,
I think it's not even really an ad so much as what you've already said. So a little bit of a look into the format of what we're doing. We're going to take this first meeting each time on each new book to just get an overview of it. It's not to go through the entire book. You don't have to have read the entire thing. You don't even have to have opened it yet when we start the meetings. The point of it is you can get an idea of what's going to happen in the book and some best practices to read through the book, and then we'll go into the deep dive and what we've applied the next time around. And we do want your feedback. So what have you applied when that time comes? Put things into practice and tell us what works and what doesn't.
Very awesome. Well, this is Sean Brady coming to you from Farm Table Creative. I'll put the website below so you know exactly where we're at. But hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And we may not see you in person, but we will see you on social media. Thanks for listening in. Best wishes in reading this book. Digest it well. Thanks all. Isn't that cool? Very cool. I know, it's a fun app that I've been doing for a while now, but cool stuff. Thank you guys.